Police leader Katy Bourne says not enough is being done to stop shoplifters from reoffending and are often stealing with absolutely no fear of punishment.
Retailers have even started to offer customers incentives to help spot shoplifters, with Iceland Supermarket giving a £1 reward for flagging up a thief. And elsewhere in the papers this morning, other suggestions like shops and stores should employ people to greet people at the door with a kind of "we've got your eye on you" approach. Well, Katy Bourne, the National Lead for Shoplifting with the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, joins us now alongside Cullen Mace, who is a reformed former shoplifter. Great to have both of you here, because we know this infuriates all our viewers, whether they be shopkeepers or people who are just frustrated that they can see people shoplifting and it not going anywhere, to actually a friend of mine who made a citizen's arrest and then had to let the persons go because the police didn't come. So let's start with you first of all, Katy. You are unhappy about this. What's the problem? Is it the police not having the resources to be there? Is it responsibility of the shopkeepers? What's going wrong?
I think it's a whole combination of things. It should never have got this far, quite frankly. Yes, the police are pulled from pillar to post. There's a lot of demand on their time from all different types of criminality. But the fact, I think, that shoplifting has been seen as low level for too long, it's now got completely out of hand. And, of course, now everyone's rushing to put it right.
Now, you're worried that there's no real deterrent, that even when you catch them as police officers and get them to court, they don't go to prison.
Well, it seems to be like a revolving door with criminal justice. Because it's seen as low level, they'll go in front of magistrates, they might get a fine, they'll come back out again. They go in front, they come back out. And this goes on and on. And we've seen, you know, offenders with over 100 offences, and then maybe they get to a prison sentence, and that's very short term, and before you know where they are, they're back out again. Nobody is actually rehabilitating or changing the behaviour. That's what needs to be done here.
Now, kind of, you're a former shoplifter. Just tell us a bit about your story. How long were you shoplifting, and how were you allowed to sort of get away with it, do you think?
I didn't get away with it. I served 10 prison sentences, all for shoplifting. Came out and done it all again, which shows there was no rehabilitation. But mine was to feed my drug addiction. I was addicted to heroin and crack cocaine. I looked at shoplifting as the most easiest way to make money. I tried to justify it by trying to say it was a victimless crime, and the reality is the reward outweighs the punishment with shoplifting.
Did I read right? You were making £2,000 a day from shoplifting. So just talk me through that. How do you make that kind of money from shoplifting? What were you doing then?
I picked my stores. I'd travel the country, so I wouldn't do it on my doorstep, you know, to make sure that police... Because I was known in my area anyway, so I'd make sure I'd go out to the area, you know, Google Maps type of thing, pick a town, a sleepy town, let's say, and I would hit the shops I would target, which would be cooperatives, Specsavers, Boots, those type of shops.
And then what would you do with the products to make that kind of cash?
If I was, you know, pretty far away from my house and the car was full, I would go to a local town, to a corner shop or somewhere, and 9 times out of 10, I would say, I've got stuff here, half price. They'd take it off you in a heartbeat. Otherwise, I'd take it back home and I'd have multiple buyers.
So there's a whole chain of criminality here, isn't there? Is that part of the problem, Katy, for you to crack?
Absolutely. There's a secondary market for everything that's stolen. And if people understood that actually what they're buying cheap down the market or in the car boot sale or even online, because the online platforms do sell as well, then if they understood this, perhaps they would think twice about it.
So one of the things that we've talked about a lot, especially last week, and you sound like you're from a similar part of the world, Callum, there was a Welsh storekeeper who was so frustrated with people just coming in and stealing from his store. He put everything into a locked cabinet, put a notice in his window saying, due to scumbags, use that word, coming and thieving, I'm afraid for other customers it's now locked up. And what happened is the police contacted him and said he shouldn't use that language. This is the sort of thing that infuriates people.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, you know...
Do you agree that that should have happened? And do you agree that shopkeepers should, if they want to, put pictures of known offenders like Callum in his past life in the store for people to keep an eye out.
Well,
They
don't
can't
get
do
me
either.
started on, data protections. I think we should have a data sharing law with protections, because data protection, as it stands, everyone hides behind it and they won't do anything. And this has been part of the problem. You know, when I spoke with national retailers a year and a half ago and we formed our Pegasus partnership to go after the organised crime gangs, they weren't sharing their data with each other, let alone with the police, because of all the protections that they said were in place. So, we need to break down those barriers, share this data more. And, if a shopkeeper is that frustrated that they're having to put up signs that say scumbags or pictures of people, for goodness sakes, what are the police doing?
But Callum, I'm just quite keen to know, what would have prevented you or stopped you from doing it at the time? I mean, one of the things at the moment Lancashire police have said, and a lot of people, laughing at it, but, it may well work, is that they're saying you should have greeters on the door, so people who will say hello and goodbye to you, whatever.
Yeah.
Just would that help? Would that have stopped you if somebody was at the door going, hello?
No, I think it would have made it more of an exciting challenge for me to try and shoplift, to be honest.
Right. So what do you think needs to be in place?
I think it's not one shoe that fits all in terms of punishing. I think a lot of, like myself, I was a drug user. I had a drug problem. They'd send me to jail. Jail didn't work. I think we need to look at people who are repeat offending to feed a habit. We need to look at this as a health matter and look at it in rehabilitation. But there is another element of this. It is that organised element and people who are just doing this just to make good money. And I think maybe stiffer sentencing for that because... like I said, it is lawless right now.
I mean, the very idea, as we're growing up, God, the idea of shoplifting, God, it would scare you. It'd scare you. What are you going to say to your parents? What are you going to say to your friends? I mean, it's just a horrible thing to do. The fact that now we sort of like I use it, we just sort of accept it. Oh, well, it does happen, doesn't it? Some people...
I was afraid to nick a Mars bar when I was younger, but as soon as I went on to drugs, I just didn't care.
Right.
Suddenly your morality and view of the world shifted, and a lot are part of gangs, aren't they?
They are. They are. And I think a lot of the fear that you talked about was because we knew we'd get caught. But nowadays, there's no deterrent there, is there? They go in and they sweep.
Yeah. And do you think a lot of people say the cost of living crisis has caused people to go out there? Is that an element of truth there, or are people using that?
No, like me and her, we had a bit of a chat in the green room. Like I think there is definitely an element there because
of truth.
There'd be mothers and people who would buy off me half price because they couldn't afford the full price anyway.
Like the baby formula and things like that.
Yeah, and now these people are shoplifting themselves. So, and they don't have a drug problem and they're certainly not professional shoplifters.
Right, yeah.
So there is an element there as well, I would say.
OK.
A little bit, but the evidence shows that actually most of the criminality is the organised gangs. Yeah. And this is highly organised and they're being trafficked in and there's often modern slavery behind it and lots of other...
Certainly things like it needs to be treated seriously. A government spokesman has said to us, we understand the devastating impact of shop theft on retailers. Our landmark crime and policing bill will end the effective immunity for theft of goods under £200 and bring in a specific offence for assaulting retail workers. Meanwhile, our Tackling Retail Crime Together strategy is gathering data from across industry and policing to better target and respond to perpetrators. It all sounds
good, doesn't it?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
We need to see in action, don't we?
Yeah, just because you say it doesn't necessarily make it so. Okay. Let's see the action.
Well, let's see. Yeah.